Hello there. I am so glad that you are here. You are watching Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson, and that would be me. And tonight I have somebody that I like a lot. I don't tell him that too often because I don't want his head to get too big. But it is Mr. Rick McCollum, who is one of my very best friends on the planet, one of the best ghost hunters I know, definitely one of the best ghost hunters I've ever worked with. And he is an amazing ghost hunter. He is the founder of Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He's been in, I always forget how many movies, but it's enough to shut you up when you're picking on Ryan. And so it is so good to see you face to face, as it were. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was reading a message from Bonnie Dolaglecki. You never say her name right. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie. So, I am so really glad that you're here because I am so chomping at the bit to get back to Scotland. And we were talking about this background behind us here, looking a bit like Danino Den, which was on my first trip to Scotland, but which was kind of a catastrophe, except for the good friends. And I think that I'm so excited that we are going back. So
I can't wait.
you really are good at coordinating that.
Well,
And
thank you.
I appreciate that.
Do you remember the one thing I told you the first time we went to Scotland? I said,
It's held true.
if you go to Scotland, you're going to go back.
Yeah. And, it's really funny because when we came home, well, before we left, every time we saw one of our friends, they were like, "Is she back?" And I was like, "I'm gonna." And so I'm so glad that I got that T-shirt at the restaurant Ziggy's in St. Andrews because it's not there anymore. But the T-shirt on the back has "Haste You Back" on it, and I love that.
We're hasting.
Love that.
We are
We are
hasting.
hasting. And it's so funny because that first tour that we did, it was supposed to be wonderful. And the actual tour, the friends that we made, the places we got to see, the camaraderie that we built with our friends was great. The tour itself was hideous. And,
I agree.
But that had nothing to do with us. So, it wasn't the end of the world.
I don't think you and I were the two favorite people of the people running the tour.
Well, that's okay. I'm sure that she loves my review.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I never wish
and
anybody bad luck, but away with you.
but then we did the Rick McCollum Invitational Tour.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty great.
I mean, we got into some places that nobody gets into. You got shot in Culloden.
I did.
Lori
And,
Dorsey got yelled at in Bannockburn House.
well, because she killed somebody in Bannockburn House.
That's what the guy said.
And I'm putting up, this is Culloden, guys, and this is the closest I'm ever going to get to Culloden again. But it is what it is. But isn't it gorgeous?
Well, I have to tell him what happened. We were standing out in the field, and all of a sudden she goes, "Oh," and grabs her stomach. I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I think somebody shot me."
It felt just like I got shot.
Like, wow. You got bopped on the head in the Writers Museum.
Yeah, I don't really want to have these experiences anymore. But really and truly, I am not a physical medium. And as a rule, I'm not a medium. And, so for me to have physical experiences was beyond the pale. You know, I hear, I intuit, I speak with them, but I don't physically interact with spirit. And it just to me showed how strong those spirits were. And it was funny because the guy in the Writers Museum, I had just come out of the room that had his um, documents, the documents of his injury and the care for him that the people of the house provided. And I didn't know that, but Lori saw me first and, you know, saw what was going on. And then there was that. But hey, Lori Dorsey, speaking of, but yeah, and then Kat, our guide with Jay Craig, was like, yeah, somebody did die from a head injury because I asked. There was no, I couldn't think of any other reason for that to be happening, right?
Yeah.
So, and you were the last casualty of which war?
Oh, the Battle of Roslyn. I fell down a hill and tore up my knee.
Yeah, which are getting fixed.
Yeah, but eventually.
I'm really proud of you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know why they're making me get x-rays on both my knees. My left one feels fine. Maybe it's a 2-for-1 sale. I don't know.
And it doesn't feel fine. It just feels better than the other one.
No, it does feel fine. It doesn't bother me at all. Just the right one. I blame Lori.
Okay.
As
long as you're not blaming.
Yeah,
as long as you're not blaming me. But Lori does carry all of your angst on her shoulders, really. So that's okay. She doesn't mind much.
Well, as long as the giant red suitcase is gone, I'll be happy.
It's gone. Lori, did you burn that suitcase? So just out of curiosity. But, you know, in all fairness, we have been to some really nifty places. And I want to know, because you have gone there over and over. And I've never asked you, which is amazing with all the conversations that we have, right? But I've never asked, why did you first go to Scotland?
Oh, that was
what was your draw?
Always wanted to go there, and I knew that I'm of Scottish descent. Matter of fact, I'm supposedly related to 3 kings of Scotland, the Malcolms.
Mm-hmm.
So always thought I'd always like to see it. And once I got there, it was like, oh, mine, me. Love the place.
And you're still like that.
Yep. Love the people too. They're the nicest people.
They are. And they'll help you levitate to avoid head injury too, won't they?
I still laugh about that.
That was fun.
When we were
because
walking
you were
along,
okay.
when we were walking along, there's these big pylons made out of cement that are right along the street so that cars can't veer into the outdoor eating areas.
And that's in the grass market if people are interested.
And we're walking along, and I'm looking up above, and I hit with both legs on this thing and went head first over it right into the concrete and went splat. And I did stunts for 43 years. I'm not going to get hurt falling down unless I land on a stick or something. But I hit the ground, and all of a sudden I started levitating, and I was like, "Ooh, well, at least I'm going up." Right, and then it was all the people from the restaurant right there all ran out and they grabbed my feet, my legs, and I went. I was like,
and their accents were so sweet.
Yeah.
And I always do that. I always do their accents when we talk about this, but it really was so kind because everyone that were sitting there, and we were at the last. I mean, that's why there were pylons, because we were at the end of the West Market. We were fixing to be right under the castle, and that's what had caught your eye. And so there were a bunch of people sitting there at that restaurant, and every one of them were like, "Oh, sir."
Yes. Oh, you were right, sir. Yeah, they're very sweet.
They are very sweet.
I can't
To be
wait
as
to
fierce as they are.
I can't wait to see Aren't You Ryan from the Telly? Our friend Ryan O'Neill, he's one of the founders or the founder or one of the major bigwigs of Scottish Paranormal.
Yep.
And I used to tease him about talking. He has a real hard accent. And we were driving in Ireland. And I was in the front seat, he was in the back, and he was talking to me. And finally, I just turned around and I said, "You please speak English," right? And he just starts going. He starts going, "Deedly deedly dee, deedly deedly do."
Which is the Irish thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What was funny is they told me we were at Balgony Castle. They said, "Ryan's in there. Tell him, aren't you Ryan from the telly?" I said, "Okay." So I go walking in there. You were there. I go walking in
I
and I go,
was.
"Aren't you Ryan from the telly?" He goes, "Shut up. You've done 75 movies."
And, you know, I was lucky enough. I guess I'm just having a Scottish period here. But I interviewed Ryan. And then not too long ago, after that, I interviewed Ryan and Greg last week and 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter. But anyway, so last week. And it was so interesting because, you know, they think just as much of you as you think of them.
Oh God,
And I'm sorry, guy. But it really is so cool because, you know, good people recognize good people. And, you know, that's why, because when we first met, we were at the Scare Fest in Lexington, and it was like an immediate friendship, just boom. And we ghost hunted. That was fun.
that was.
And
Yeah, matter of fact, you and I and Brian Ingerman all spotted the same thing at the same time.
yep,
So
that was so much fun. Brian
yeah,
Ingerman is so special.
he's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Don't tell him I said so.
Freaking great artist.
Yeah, I have a
Man,
couple pieces that he made for me. He did a thing from Hatchet 2 where
really?
we're all sitting out there where um, I guess it was, I don't remember what it was. Anyway, he was telling us we were going to go out and kill Victor Crowley, right? And Tony Todd, the guy was the one up front talking. Rest his soul, he passed away not too long ago.
Sorry.
And a really good dude. But anyway, that was just so weird, the whole thing about that. But they were passing along cookies, and people were eating cookies while he was talking. He made a picture, a drawing of everybody in the out in the audience. So there was me and RA, and you know, all of us were all sitting there munching on cookies and what he drew. So very good artist.
He is a great artist. And you know, it's so funny because I didn't really realize how great he was with that right off the bat. And then when we became friends on Facebook, I was just like, holy wow, this guy's amazing. Because I
Yeah,
can't draw a stick. I really can't. Well, maybe if I took my time. But he is freaking brilliant.
he's really good with caricatures too.
Hmm.
He does that too.
Yeah.
Well, you know who's the secret guy behind a lot of paranormal stuff in Scotland is J. Craig Miller. And
J. Craig Miller is my hero.
yeah, J.
I
Craig
love
is
him.
really cool. But he is a huge fan of horror films, and he's got like a museum in his house.
Yeah.
And he yelled at me when I went to his house because he said, "I'm going to make you something for dinner." And I said, "How about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" Because he just made one for his son. And
Right.
he goes, "No, I want to make you real dinner." I said, "Yeah, but I really want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
And I know you got the stuff.
I haven't had one for years. I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." So, but he's a very good guy too.
Yeah. But, you know, one of the things that surprised me about him is that he genuinely is into the paranormal. And he is in
Mhm.
such a position that, he was able to allow us into the Writers Museum, which was so beautiful and so just, I don't even have words to describe how that place made me feel. I was so fortunate and I felt so blessed to actually be there. And then somebody banged me up, but that was okay because it didn't last too long. But there was residual pain from that. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah. It didn't just go away that night.
Wow.
And so, but that was better because the colliding thing still hurts sometimes.
I'm not going back to Culloden.
I will never go back to colliding.
I have to say how disappointed I was in that place. I mean, I just couldn't believe the history of that place. It's like, you did what? There's people with guns all set up waiting for you, and you try and run across a marshy bog about 700 yards worth. I said, you're going to get killed. And they did.
They did.
It was just, if I was there and they said, we're going to go across the bog, yeah, well, no. That would be
Well,
sitting this one out.
but when you get into a military environment, and especially there were multiple clans there, and they were grouped by clan.
Mm-hmm.
And because you and I have had this conversation, so I've pondered that because I couldn't understand why they did that, right?
Yeah.
And their commanding people were gone, and there was an Irishman in charge of them. And so they didn't have their normal leadership. They were not going to disgrace their clan by refusing. And the worst part, I thought, which just was a reflection on the Jacobites, were that after they went through and slaughtered all those people, they actually went through the battlefield to make sure that they killed every one of them.
And if they
They
were wounded, they killed them right there.
right there. But that wasn't the worst. The worst was that they left and went and found their families. Do you remember that part of
No.
it?
Uh-uh.
Yeah. They went and killed their families. They hunted their families down and killed them. And, I'm just like, no, why would you do that? That's such a bad thing to do. And I just really got so upset when we were talking about that while we were there.
Yeah, there's some, I can't remember where it was right now. I have to tell the people while we were over in Scotland last time, I got really sick.
You did.
And I was going out with everybody, but I honestly don't remember most of what happened on that last tour. I mean,
Yeah.
it was something. And then I got back and ended up in the hospital, which was fun for 4 days. But they seemed to have figured out.
During the fires, at least you're in a concrete place.
Yeah. So now I feel good. I look pretty.
I wouldn't go that far, man, but
No,
you
I
do
wouldn't
look
either.
great. You look great. You do. Well, I'm going to tell you that's when, because you were having stuff happen the day that they sent you to the hospital. And, we were talking because we talk all the time. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I had just seen on my television that the fire was coming into Burbank and they sent you to a hospital in Burbank. And I'm just like,
it's funny.
There.
I could look out my window and see the Walt Disney Studios with the big water tank. Wasn't any fire over there, but there was a lot of smoke that I could see out my window. So interesting.
Probably the safest place you could have been in that environment, but Jiminy Crickets.
Yeah.
The fact that you were that sick and had to go there was scary. I'm so glad you're okay.
I was going to Walmart. Next thing I know, I'm getting transfusions. Surprise.
Lots of them. Lots
Yeah.
of them. You know, it was you were so sick when we were over there. And, you know, because you're so stoic, you weren't really letting on how bad it was. And, you know, you had gone to bed and we were staying at this beautiful period hospital on my brain, hotel called Salutations. And I loved it because, you know, I'm a Scottish fan, especially of the historic stuff. And they used to host hunt balls at Salutations. So they had all the pictures and newspaper articles and stuff from that. And so I was excited to be there. It was very old school Scottish. It was very different plaids for the carpets and rooms and stuff like that. But we did some investigating. And meanwhile, we didn't know that you were struggling to get out of your suitcase. So, you know, it was just like, oh my God.
At least I wasn't trying to come out of the closet.
That's true. This is true. Not that nothing would surprise me at this point, though.
Well, it would surprise the hell out of me.
Well, it would.
I got to explain what happened. I found out after I went through all the medical stuff that I have a thing, autoimmune disease called pernicious anemia, which knocks out your red blood cells, so you can't breathe, you get disoriented and everything else. And while they were out ghost hunting, because I said, I'm wrecked, I'm just going to sit here. I fell 11 times in my room. Fortunately, the first 6 were under the bed, right? And the other ones were that I got up in the morning and I picked my suitcase up and set it on the bed, and it started to slide. And I put my hand on it and I went right off the bed, splat right into the suitcase, which was open, and I couldn't get up because my arm was stuck underneath in the suitcase, and I'm like, oh, God damn it, let me up. So finally, I got up after, I don't know, like 10 minutes trying to get out of it. My arm was all bruised up. But yeah, I fell 11 times in one night. I was like, at least I know how to fall down. that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward this time to actually remembering what goes on.
Well, and being able to make it into the bed, you know. But no lie, that was such a freaky moment. That whole experience side of it, because you couldn't do a push-up.
Not one. Not even one. And actually, usually when I was doing push-ups all the time, I could do 68 in a row. So when all of a sudden you go from 68 to 0 was kind of concerning. So I knew something was wrong. But and they took me, shot me down like a missile right down the hallway into a place, and the doctors were all over me, and I'm like, what is going on here? But
in LA.
Yeah, they fixed me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they fixed me. So,
you know, I hope so too.
Yeah, me too.
So
it should be more fun walking around in things this time.
I would think so. And
I actually have some air.
Yeah. And you first.
I was just saying, the only 2 things I really remember really well were the 2 that I'm never going to forget. And you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
The Laird coming to say hi. And when I sat on the tomb and the guy threw me off.
He threw you out.
He did.
He did.
I had my K2 meter. I sat down on this thing. I asked before, I said, my knee is really sore. I can't walk any farther. I mean, no disrespect. Please let me sit here. And my K2 had not gone off in the 2 hours that I was in going through the whole graveyard.
Yeah.
And I sat down. And as soon as I did, it went 5 lights, which means that's as strong as it goes. And there was a girl from the other group with me, and she saw it. She said, oh. And I said, are you mad that I'm sitting on your tomb? Bam, 5 lights again. And then I said, is it okay? I said, my knee is so bad. If I stand up right now, I'm going to fall on the tube. Is it okay if I just sit here for 30 seconds? And it twinkled like between 2 and 3, like, nah, I'm all right. So I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, boom, 5 lights again, about 30 seconds later. And
Time's up.
I said, make it go all 5 right now, and I'll get up and leave. Bam, all 5. And the girl goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to get up and leave. But I mean, I've never had, and I've done this for a long, long, long time. I have never had such solid, instantaneous answers. I mean, it was like, wow, it was like talking to a person. Well, he was a person at one time, but
it was.
And then
because there wasn't anything that would have created that.
No, not a thing. I do want to go back there when we go to Inverness. And I just want to put my hand and the K2 on top of it and say, hey, I'm back. I just want to tell you I'm sorry I had to sit on you. And are you okay with me now? And if I get 5 lights, get out.
You will probably get out because that's just who, that's just who he seemed to be.
Yeah.
And that's okay because it's his grave.
Yeah. Well, like I told him, I meant him no disrespect. I just couldn't walk any farther. And the other one you're well aware of, you were sitting right next to me, was the Laird.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That was amazing.
And, people probably, it sounds so extreme that, how could it possibly be true? It was so true. But in the video, and I'm gonna be honest here. In the video, I was looking at Mikey's video. It does not present the way I saw it, which really to me was odd because I'm sitting, and even Mikey, right, is all of this is, and I know that what I saw was happening because Mikey actually said, my REM pod don't do that, bro, to you.
Yeah.
And because I'm sitting there and I'm filming and I'm looking and the lights from the REM pod are climbing the antenna. The electrical current is climbing the antenna. And I'm seeing that with my eyes.
And the fact is, for you ghost hunting peeps out there, REM pods don't do that.
They do not. The current comes down to the REM pod through the antenna, and that current is what makes the lights light up.
Yeah,
it was going the other way.
Well, what was the weirdest for me, and it took me a little while to catch on. Duh.
You think?
The Laird and I were pretty good friends. I mean, real good friends. I don't know why. We just took a real liking to each other, and it was so weird. Lori was sitting next to me, and I was right next to her. We both had K2 meters. And then I said, are there any spirits in here? And it went, bam, all 5 lights, but it froze. And so did hers. And I was like, wow, what kind of power is that? And I'm trying, I kept saying, you have to let us get this so we can actually get reactions off of it. If it freezes here, we can't use it. So I turned it off, turned it back on, and it was sitting there, and then it went boom, and locked again. I was like, wow, I've never had power like this around me, like that. And you all were looking at me like, you are the stupidest human on the face of the planet. Because I kept saying, it's got to be somebody that knows how to do that. And you're all looking like
somebody that's familiar with paranormal equipment, somebody who has a connection here, somebody, you think?
Yeah. And then finally, I just went like this. Holy crap, it's the Laird.
And the room went wild.
Yeah,
it did. People were just like, yes, he got it. In all fairness, you had been sick. So, but
what was the strangest thing about that? We were having part of the thing at Balgoni had a ghost hunt with the Americans, which was us.
Yeah.
And we were down in the museum area, which I'd really never been in before. And the Laird's woodworking shop was right behind. You go through the door, you're right through the museum. And just to tell you how cool this guy was, he was world famous at doing woodworking, painting,
Uh-huh.
leatherworking, and I mean, you name it, he was doing it. But he actually made his own coffin and put the date of his birth on it, and it was sitting right there, you know. And he said, "Oh, that way, all I got to do is put me in the box and put on the when I went." But it just he was such
Yeah.
a totally interesting guy. I mean,
Well, and the carving that he did was magnificent. He carved all of the doors in the castle.
41
And I
doors.
mean, we're talking massive wooden doors. Hi, Jeremy York. And the carvings were intricate and beautiful. He was actually um, royally recognized as a master leather worker,
Hmm.
and he was. I guess there's a lot to do in the winter when you can't go outside, and he painted all of those crests, and
Those were stunning,
yeah,
absolutely stunning. The first day that I met him, we were talking, and there was just an instant bond. I don't know what it was, like we were friends from years past. This
you
kind of
are.
the feeling I got. But this is right after I'd been the last casualty at the Battle of Roslyn, so I was limping real bad. And he looks at me, and he goes, "Can you get up to the third floor with that leg?" And I said, "You got, arm things, railings?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I'll make it." So we start going up the stairs. I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "I'm going to show you my private residence." Cool. So I'm going up there, and I can't remember if it was Ryan or if it was Gregor, but one of them leaned over, and these guys are really good friends of the Lair. They're always over there, and one of them just leaned over and he goes, "He's never taken us up there." So, right, so we get up there, and he had hand painted, and these things were like probably 2 foot by 2 foot, and they were the crests of the former lairds of the castle, and there was 31 of them in the ceiling. I mean, you go in there and you see these 31 crests in the ceiling. It's amazing, and
They were
his
beautifully done.
not only that, the whole place up there looked exactly like you would make it if you're making a movie. I mean, it had that giant granite fireplace and the red leather chairs, and then his library in there is like amazing.
He had a brilliant library. I went through some of those books. I've looked through them. I didn't go through them,
Should have
but
frisked you on the way out.
but I was just so taken aback, and that's one thing. When we were there the first time, we did go to Balgoni, thanks to you and the guys, and it was so fantastic, and that's where Tunde actually just fell in love with ghost hunting, and I've got some great pictures of her from there. She was watching over Lori's shoulder using the SLS and stuff, and she really was bitten by the bug. And it was so fun to see her having so much fun. And Tunde was a friend that we made on that trip, and she's not with us any longer. But I think about her an awful lot. But it was so cool that um, she got to experience that chapel area because that's where she was really moved. And that was another instance of a beautiful, massive door. The windows were with the iron um, frames and stuff, and it was it looks the way a castle should look.
Yeah,
So
it's an amazing place. It really is, and it's got some major feelings when you're walking through there.
yeah,
So you know you're not by yourself. I actually slept overnight in one of the chairs right next to the fireplace, down on the first floor.
that was a great area. That little ante room or whatever. I mean, that was so amazing with all of the weaponry around the hearth
Yeah,
and around the made on attached to the. It looked like a castle supposed to
yeah, it
in
does.
my world, right?
Yeah,
So
that was all Knights Templar stuff too.
yes, it was, and there were Templar crosses on almost every one of those crests as
Yeah,
well.
all over the place. Anybody that wasn't catching the hint, it's like, but you know that place. We had just got done ghost hunting, and everybody was sitting around. I was standing there, and the girl behind me goes, "Rick!" And something went hit me right in the back of the head. And I turned around, and she said, "I saw something coming up from the ground, like a shadow." And boom, like, wow, what did I do?
Yeah.
So that
You were in the way.
no, just nobody was around me, but she had seen something come up from the floor and smack me in the head. So that was interesting.
That's so random.
Yeah. Bonk me on my nugget.
And I want to say hi to Irene in chat too. But
Hi, Irene. Hi, Jeremy.
Yeah. I am just so excited to be going back. And
I'm
we're going.
Go ahead. After you.
No, you first.
I talked to Bonnie, who I can't say her last name, Dulaglecki, and she's going to be over there. Well, she's going to be over there while we're there. And she asked if it's possible, can I please go ghost hunting with you guys? And
Absolutely.
I said, I think everybody would be okay with that. I said, I just don't know where we're going to be and when. So I told her, I said,
figure it out.
I said, call me back in like 3 weeks. I'm sure we can get you in there to go with us one day.
Yeah. So, Bonnie, if you want to, you can put in chat what you're going for. Are you going to be there for a week or 2 weeks or just a weekend? I think it'd be great to see you. But what is if you could, I asked Greg and Ryan this, and I'm going to ask you, out of all the places in Scotland that you're familiar with that you have not been to, what would be your bucket list items so far that you would like to have an opportunity to get in with some equipment?
Well, somebody brought this up the other day. I can't remember who it was, but Edinburgh Castle.
What part, primarily?
All of it.
If you could only pick one area.
I'd have to know more of the history of the place. Just make sure I didn't waste it on some place where they had lunches or something.
Spirits like to have eaten when they were alive too.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, one of the things, because that, both guys, Greg and Ryan wanted Edinburgh Castle, but Gregor's first pick of any place that he can investigate that he hasn't yet was Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm.
And I'm like, with all the places that you have there, you're going to pick Skinwalker? He said, have you seen the stuff that goes on there? And I'm like, yeah, I have.
Yeah,
but we have an inn.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
No, we don't. No, that's
well, I'm not talking about that inn.
No, I actually asked somebody that knows.
Uh-huh.
They just said they're not going to let anybody to do
that. Well, no, I don't know that. Well, I'm going to just go with, given the activity and radiation and things that they're having now, and the radiation's always been there.
Yeah.
Okay, but when it was originally the people that ran from it that were there, they had problems with that too. It would be a liability.
Well, there's other stuff that people aren't really taking into consideration about Skinwalker. They have done the LiDAR and everything else, and they say that there's a half circle of something metallic underneath the big thing above.
Uh-huh. The mesa.
Yeah, and they also, when they went to this other place, they found machinery like caterpillars and stuff like that buried on the property. Now, who buries expensive,
Heavy
to do it
equipment.
like that. Yeah, who buries those kinds of things? And the fact is that, the guy that was there before, I remember his name right now, Robert Bigelow.
Mhm.
I guess I can't remember his name. I lied. Um, he was
That's a
actually
good one.
he was actually really into some other things. It seems like so. A lot of the stuff that they're running across may be stuff that he was working on. I think, if that makes sense.
It does, but I don't know what you're talking about, and that's going to drive me crazy now.
Well, no, he was down there doing a lot of stuff, the UFO stuff, and
Mhm.
and I do believe he had something to do with the government doing it. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, yeah, and then all of a sudden, he sold out, and now there's heavy equipment that's buried. They're picking up these weird things. I think it's whatever he was working on is what they're finding. It's
Yeah.
so curious.
Well, I find it interesting that now, and I'm going to get in trouble. I don't care. But, I was watching it and I love the show. I really do. But we were flipping channels the other night and it was on and they're shooting rockets again. And I'm like,
Well,
mm,
the thing that gets me about the rockets, they go, whenever we shoot rockets up, we see like airplanes come by. There's a military base right across
it's
the
a
way.
big dog.
Yeah,
There's
and what
big dog military there.
you're gonna fire rockets up and expect them not to come look at what it is. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure
anytime
something
that you're
there.
watching something in that region, there's going to be eyes on you. There's probably eyes on you anyway.
Oh,
That's what satellites are for.
well, the fact
But
too, yeah, they could be watching and not be anywhere around. But you
mhm.
fire rockets off in the middle of the night, the people from the Air Force base or whatever military it is are going to come look. That's their job.
Well, maybe people count on that.
Yeah, it's just a strange thing. It's had a lot of really bizarre things happen out there. So
Well, before all of this stuff started going on, there was um there was a family that had a house there, and this young man, his name was Ryan Skinner, which he didn't have anything to do with why was called Skinwalker, but his name was Ryan Skinner. He wrote a book. I found that book when I very first started doing shows, and he would trespass there because he was young and stupid. And there was already a government security presence there. And this has been, what, 30 years ago? And the people that owned that ranch, that were trying to make a living from that ranch, were, there was stuff there. There was like prehistoric kind of feeling stuff. And I'd always heard and thought it was a joke or, a story, you know, bedtime horror story kind of thing, when kids used to do those. And that the closets in that house had doors that locked from inside the closet so that they could get someplace and barricade themselves. And I thought, I'm not spending the night there. I mean,
I'd never
so,
heard that. That's interesting.
well, I've heard it from several different sources. And this guy, I found him online and I I just sent him a message and I was like, look, I I do radio shows, but I'm really interested because it was when I very first started Paranormal Experience, which was what, 10 years ago. And I said, I'm really interested in this. And I just would appreciate it if you could tell me something because he didn't want to come on the show. He didn't want to come on publicly and talk about it. But he'd written a book, so there's that. But some of the things that he told me were so bizarre. And in his book, he described an experience that he had. He had been trying to get in the gate, right? Or go over a fence. He'd been trying to go over a fence. And as he was trying to get, he was almost over it, and he heard something crashing through the woods coming after him. He ran and got back in his car. And as he's running away, he's being chased. His car is being chased. He started when he was young on a mini bike. I mean, I wouldn't have done it.
Well, what was chasing him?
He couldn't tell, but it was roaring
Hmm.
and big. So I just thought that the whole thing was so, it sounded like Twilight Zone episodes, right? And so then we get to this point, and they started doing the show. And so I'm curious because, like I said, I've been following this ranch for decades, and he was, I mean, the things that he described were, chased by men in black, right? And then he actually was on a mini bike and had the men in black come out to,
If you go onto a secret base where they're
it
doing
wasn't,
secret stuff,
it was not ostensibly a base at that time. It had been a residence and the people just left.
Hmm.
So it wasn't at that point, what it is now. But anyway, so it was would I go there? I might go during the day. I wouldn't
I'll
stay
go
there.
there.
I would not stay there.
I would. Let me at it.
That's because you're a monster anyway.
Have been
I know, right?
on several occasions, actually.
So, but I mean, if you went, I might. But I would not.
Should I explain that monster thing? Because people here might not know. I played
Those that don't know,
I played a lot of different monsters in movies while I was doing stunts and things back
he's
then.
really an actor.
Yeah, I had a girl at the gym tell me one time, she goes, "You're a handsome guy." I said, "Really? Why is it every time I go on the set, they cover my face in foam?" So
Can't have you out doing the male whatever the lead man or whatever. So
well, you remember the saying, playing monsters by day, seeking spirits at night.
yeah, I love your books. I'm not gonna lie. I have
The forward was really
reread
good. I
them.
know that.
Huh?
The forward of the book was really good. I know that.
Well, you know what? I just really wanted to do that.
Well, the fact that
But
when you're sitting there during the day and you're thinking you're kind of a lump, and you go, "Well, I did write 2 books," and I went, "Yeah, but you know what? I had Kat Hobson do the forward of the first one, which was great, and then Jay Blumke did the second
it's a
book."
great
Like,
forward.
and you know who wants to do the third one?
You told me.
Tommy Danheiser asked me if he could do it.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, yeah."
Well, and I'm going to tell you, that's one of the nicest men I know. I
Yeah, he's
think
very nice.
he's so
He was
nice
very
to me.
nice. Oh,
And he
Bonnie
might
just
have a
said.
little,
Oh, Bonnie just said she's not sure yet about when she's going to be there.
well, we will find out. But,
I'm sure she will get hold of me. I'm sure.
I hope so. And you can add me on Facebook too. It's under Catherine. So just saying, you can find me on Rick's friends list. But one of the things that I think is so cool is that you have so many different, you have friends from so many different walks of life. Jay Bluemke, founder of Ghost Hunters, creator of Ghost Hunters, right?
Yeah.
And then Tommy D, the producer of Coast to Coast Radio. Coast to Coast Day.
Do not forget that girl that has 2 radio shows.
That's true.
That
She's
would
pretty
be
cool sometimes.
Kat.
That would be. I do this and I do Fate Magazine radio on Sundays. So, but I love what I do, and I get to do it with people I like. Like, look at you, you're here. So,
You beckoned. I didn't just
well,
show up.
no, you didn't just show up. But you know what? I love when we get a chance. I mean, we talk all the time. We really do, guys. We talk all the time. But when we get to talk here, it's kind of like more focused on what we love doing,
Yep.
and as opposed to just random life stuff. And, like when we talk about places that we want to investigate, or when we're talking now about, well, where would we want to go? And I do know that Lynn told me this morning, who is, Lynn and Gary Knight of History and Horror Tours, but she had a picture from Castle Mingus, which if you're American, it's Menzies, but if you're Scottish, it's Mingus. And the photo was amazing. And she was like, well, it's where the spinning wheel is. I said, well, wasn't there a sundial? I didn't say that, but I'm thinking, because I remember the sundial being in one of the windows looking out over that absolutely gorgeous piece of property. But it was a good shadow figure photo that she caught.
Yeah, I saw that.
And she was like, well, we could always go there. I'm like, yes, please. Because it's like we're redoing our whole tour again, and I'm okay with that. But it's just like so cool that we have friends that are like, what do you think? It's like,
Well,
oh
you know
yeah.
what? In my short 50 some odd years of ghost hunting, one thing I have noticed is that the more often you go someplace, the more the spirits know you, and you tend to get better interaction. I mean, if you go to some place and all of a sudden they just pop up, that's something, you know. So that's why I
Yes.
like to go to a lot of places where I've had the interaction, because I know they're there, you know.
Well, yeah. Something that I was thinking about Minkus is that when we were there, you were wiped out and you were in your tam and your set of tam that you have on now. What is that called?
What's that?
Your hat. What is your hat
Oh,
called? It's not
you
a
know,
tam.
I don't know what it's called actually. It's actually a sports hat that they use in the Highland games, and it's my family tartan.
Okay. But you had that on. You had on your black jacket because it was cold. And, you're just sitting up there in I guess it would be the chieftain's room. And we were just chatting away. And you were getting some hits. It wasn't really very active in that area, but there was a place that you just felt like they would escape through and stuff. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah.
And, so I felt like you should have been getting a lot more activity than you were getting there. And I feel like you said, they didn't know who we were. And we
Well, it
sounded
could have
funny.
been too that I wasn't up to receiving anything.
Yeah. And, that place, aside from being a beautiful pastoral experience, I mean, we got out of the cars and Mikey turned around and said, oh my God, we just stepped into a painting. And we had. I mean, it was primordial forest that we had driven through. I mean, and then all the yellow grasses and everything was just laid out in front of us. And then, there were some houses and there were animals here or there. And then when we went inside, they still had the molds that they made the cornices and stuff from. And so that if something went to pieces, they could replace it with the original molds. I mean, there's so much there. They had the death mask of Bonnie Prince Charlie there.
Well, I
And
don't think they call it a gas mask. I think they call it a
no,
death
I said a
mask.
death mask.
Okay, I thought you said a gas
So,
mask. I thought, what?
no, no. But that blew me away because it was just so freaking cool.
Well, I got to tell you, with Scotland, even if you don't find anything paranormal, it's still a great trip.
Yeah. But you're going to find something paranormal.
I find stuff paranormal everywhere I go. It's kind
Yeah.
of weird. For some reason, they seem to like me.
Go figure, right?
Nobody else does. Just dead people seem to like me.
Whatever. I'm still kicking, just so
That's
you know.
true.
But
Just remember code words.
yes. Everybody.
By the way, we should tell those people because it's a good idea. Kat and I came up with this idea that if one of us goes before them, we're going to have code words so that we can say them so they'll know they're actually talking to us.
Yep. And
So,
everybody and their brother knows what they are. Because every time he goes on a show, there you go. Bonnie's got it.
Water pitcher.
Yeah. So, and there is a story behind that. So
Tell them. Tell them what it is. It's a good story.
Well, we've been friends for ever.
At least 10 years.
Yeah, because I broke my knee, and we were already friends, but had just recently become friends. And so when I'm trying to heal, because I had to be in bed for like 3 months, it was the most ridiculous thing ever. But I'm good now. So we would talk, and he used to make he still does make crystal light tea. And so he would be so afraid that I would think that he was doing something else with water, that every time he would go to fill his tea jug, he would say, water pitcher, water pitcher. And he still does every time.
Let me just clarify it. It's when you're pouring the water in there, it sounds like you're in the bathroom.
Right? It does.
So that's why I go, water pitcher, water pitcher.
And it's appreciated, because that's a visual you don't need. But it's just one of those things that has stuck. It absolutely has stuck.
Well, you know what, though? It is a good idea. If you tell your friends that are into the paranormal, here's our code words. I mean, can you imagine if, I go before you, which is probably likely, that you were
that's
saying,
the kiss of death.
And well, I'm old and
as it were.
have issues. Actually, I'm as strong as a horse. I have to admit.
Yeah, you are.
Kind of smell like a horse most of the time too. But anyway, now I forgot about the code words.
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't it be great if you're ghost hunting and all of a sudden, Kat was saying, "Rick, are you around? Water pitcher." Then everybody'd say,
I would know for sure that it was not just a random thing.
Yeah, seems like everybody should have code words.
Well, when we were having that investigation at Balgony last year, a couple of the women were asking for the code word, because they said Greg and the Laird had a code word. Do you remember that? Okay. But anyway, it was during the investigation. Everything was going off. And then the interesting thing, though, was that it only did it with that first group.
That was very interesting.
Yeah. There was nothing with anyone else.
We had, 4 groups that came down with us?
Mm-hmm.
And the very first one blew up like we've never seen.
Yes, that was insane.
And We didn't get anything the next 3.
Nope. Lori said hers should be red suitcase.
Yeah, I would know who that is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or the mean redhead.
Yeah, that'd be nasty redhead. I always pick on Lori about her red suitcase because it was about the size of a refrigerator, and
It
everywhere
had
that
about as much in it.
every place that I usually took a bus to go to, we couldn't get on because she had a refrigerator with her. So she
Yeah.
cost me like $500,000 in taxi cabs.
Yeah. It was all right.
I
But
think,
I asked Greg if anybody had gotten review the Laird's code word, and he was like, "Nope, nobody got it."
does Greg know what it is?
Greg's who made it. He and the Laird made
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about his code word.
Yeah. So, but he just said, nobody got anything like it.
Well, the weird thing with
So,
the Laird, like I said, he took instant trust in me. And as I was leaving, he said, "Come over here." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "Can you keep a secret?" And I said, "Yeah." So he tells me this story, and I went, "You've got to be kidding me." Right? And I didn't tell anybody. Well, I did tell one person. That was you.
yeah.
But
I carry a lot of secrets.
I had to tell one person. But when I was there the last time before he passed, um, I started to walk out, and he goes, "Come back here. I want to ask you something." I said, "Okay." I walked back, and he goes, "Did you tell anybody the story?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Good, because I only told you half of it." Right? And what he had told me, the first one, was that there were living Knights Templar in the United States, which blew my mind. And when I talked to him, told him I was really interested in it. I said, "How do you know that?" He said, "Because I'm in charge of them." Right. So the last time I went there, and I said, he says, "Yeah, I only told you half of it." I said, "What?" He goes, "They're all over the place." And I said, "How do you know that?" He goes, "Because I'm in charge of them," which would mean that I was actually talking to the Grand Master of the Knights Templar. I mean, that's something. Right?
That
And
is
I never
huge.
wanted to tell anybody, but there was references to it in his obituary.
Mhm.
So I figured that made it fair game to talk. But, I mean, you talk
Well,
about somebody trusting you enough to tell you that the first time they meet you. It's amazing.
y'all's connection was astounding.
I think we knew each other in the past. I really do.
I would think so.
And I know it sounds strange, but I really think somewhere along the line that I may be buried in Temple because I
Mhm.
get the weirdest vibes from in there.
That place, I wonder if I have a photo of that. Let me look and see. But one of the things that I found to be so interesting. All right, this is
There
Temple,
it is.
and I I just loved this place because if you come right back here behind Rick, um, there's a river or a creek of some kind of big creek that runs back there. And I was so pulled over there. But if you come up the hill to the side of my image, um, there's a place where Lori and Julie and I were investigating. Julie had really gotten into the K2 at that point. And so we're all up there and I'm filming with my thermal imager. Lori, was it the thermal imager that was doing that? But or I think it was because every time Lori would step forward or back, I would lose her. I lost her image. And I mean, she just went gone. And so I would say, okay, step back where and she would come back. And we did that several times. It was the weirdest thing. And so then Lee Dunn was there, who is a fantastic psychic. And I was just like, I need you to come with me. And so I took him back down by the river because I said, there's somebody right here and they're really pulling me. And he was like, well, where are you? Where? And I was like, well, do you not feel right there? And he was like, well, I just wanted to know if you did. You know, he said, you need to trust yourself. You're really good at this. And so that was quite a compliment. But
Well, he's a
yeah,
really, really good psychic.
he's
I mean,
brilliant.
he's really good. And just to interrupt you a little bit because I'm just a rude person by nature. Uh,
I'm
when
used
we
to
were,
you.
when we were in the toll booth up in Cool Ross, you guys weren't there. It was me, Gregor,
Yeah.
Lee, and Linda Whiteford, and we'd been up in the toll booth, which is supposed to be amazingly haunted, and we really weren't getting anything. And the thing I like about Lee Dunn, he's sitting there, and Gregor goes, "Lee, are you getting anything?" He goes, "No." I'm so used to the mediums and psychics that I go with, Wait, I feel something manifesting in the corner. I think it's a woman in white. I feel like going, just smack them all.
They're all women in white. Yes.
Can somebody wear a red dress for goodness sake? Jeez.
Well, then they'd be hussies if they're wearing red nightgowns.
I'm off for hussies. Hussies!
You are off. You're
Bring them
so
out.
you run. You
I
would run
would.
from a hussy.
I'm the biggest coward when it comes to women.
Yeah. Talk a good game though.
No, I'm not even good at
Not even that.
No.
Well, maybe not with them.
No.
But and I am so I want to know why you think that you were buried here.
I just feel like it. I mean, what I was saying, before I ever knew this place was there, I was talking to Tommy Moyes, who I've ghost hunted with a few times. And I
That's
said,
the English guy?
no, he lives in Roslyn.
Oh, okay.
And I was talking to him, and I said, yeah, I just got a real pull about the Knights Templar around here. And he goes, oh, you should go to Temple. I said, where's that? He says, like 8 miles from here. It's actually, it was a place where the Knights Templar lived, and it was their temple.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I went over there, I was like, wow, I get the weirdest feelings here. And I was there with Gregor and Ryan. And if you're looking at this thing, there's a hill to the left, and I walked up the hill. I wasn't getting anything, specific down below. And I got up and I said there was one area that kind of got to me, and I said, "Hi, my name's Rick." I said, I came over here to see if I could find any spirits. I said I'm a big fan of the Knights Templar, and it would mean a lot to me if you could, come close enough to make this go off, so I know that there is something here. And instantly it went all 5 lights. I said, there is someone here. It went 5 lights again, and then that didn't come back. But one of the weirdest things that happened, me and Gregor and Ryan were sitting down, and Ryan was working with the equipment. And I asked, he had the DR60 recorder out, and I said, have any of the 3 of us ever been here before? Right? And it spoke in French, which is kind of, a lot of the Knights Templar were French people, right? And it went, deux, trois, which is 1, 2, 3, which was, I was like, God, I didn't know I had to hang out with them guys in the afterlife. But that was something when you got something in a different language and it counted all 3 of you.
And it's a direct answer.
Yeah. I mean, right then, even Gregor looks over at me and he goes, what?
Well, I'm going to tell you that if you can get a response like that out of Scottish paranormal guys, it's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, they have done a few things where they might be used to some of that.
Yes.
First time I ever heard an answer in a different language.
Well, the interesting thing is that they understood it in English.
Well, they probably spoke both of them.
Or maybe it just transcends.
Well, maybe when you're on the other side that you understand everything.
That That would be cool if it applied to more than language, right?
Yeah.
So I do hope that we get some clarification on things, though.
All I know is when I get there, I'm not going to have anything to do with play with dogs.
With what?
Dogs. I should tell them my story about
Yes.
I have what's called a lucid dream when you're wide awake, and all of a sudden you start dreaming, and it went dark, and I'm like, what just happened? Right? It's the middle of the day, and I'm just sitting there, and then I see like this pinprick of light, and I'm like, oh, don't tell me I'm dead. This is the tunnel, right? And I start walking, and just to be honest, I was terrified. I really was. I was afraid like something was going to come up and grab my legs and suck me under, and I mean, it was very scary. But I kept going towards the light, and it was getting bigger because I was getting closer to it. And I finally got roughly, I'd say, 30 yards from it, and it looked like wax paper was over the end of this tunnel, and I could see, you know, silhouettes of people, but I couldn't see who they were. All I could see was the outlines of people moving around. And I stopped, and I was kind of afraid to go any further, and something hit me right in the butt and knocked me forward. Right? And I went, oh, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just, you know, it really shocked me, right? And then again, something hits me on the other side up high, and I'm like, what's going on, right? So I start moving ahead, and I feel all these things hitting me in the back of my legs and in my butt. And as I get about 10 yards away from the light, it's all light where I'm at. And I turned around and looked, and it was all the dogs that had passed away that I'd had throughout my life pushing me forward. And I was like, you guys are all right. I'm glad I fed you. So,
Yeah.
but it was an amazing thing. So I actually told the guy that works at Gelson's, he was in the wine department, he was a friend of mine, and I went over there and I said, how you doing? He goes, oh, I'm really depressed. What's the matter? He goes, oh, I lost my dog last night. I said, let me tell you a story, right? I told him that, and he goes, wow, and then he started crying. Like,
Well, that's okay, because if I didn't have mascara on, I would be boohooing all over the place right here.
well,
Because
and
you know how many I've lost.
well, I don't know if there's going to be any room for the two of us to get into heaven with all your butts on the other side.
But, well, you know, periodically they're here. They don't come as a pack, but
Well, I told you
because I
my
think that the two here would freak out.
yeah. Well, I told you the other night. I thought I heard the part-time dog bark in my living room while I was sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, people, when I say my part-time dog, the girl who lived downstairs from me was an actress, and when she would go away to film and stuff, I would watch him for her. So he was my part-time dog, and he was a little knucklehead.
Oh, please. You adored him.
Oh, I did. He was the clingiest dog in the world. He was like a fur missile. I'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden, he'd jump up on me when I was wherever I was at. Boy, he was clingy. I mean, it was funny. The first night, she says, "Well, you probably don't want to let him into bed with you." I said, "I'll let him. He won't bother me." So I came and I sat down, and he's just sitting there looking up at me, so hopeful because she won't let him on the bed. Right? And I went, "Come on!"
Right.
And he went, "Boing!" Right? And he was all happy and doing dog stuff. And I said, "Well, I gotta hit the bathroom." So I go to the bathroom and come back out, and he's stretched out and exactly on my spot. So the first time was I put my hands next to him and said, "Come on, little man, move over. Come on, you just come on, move over." So finally I got him over there. The second night I go over there and he's in the same spot. And I'm like, "Come on, that's my spot. Move over." And the third day I was like, "Get over there." Toss him over the other side of the bed.
I mean, Elliot was definitely your part-time dog. Bonnie said, Elliot. Yes. And Bonnie is a lot of fun if you say Elliot like E.T. It just is a good time.
Yeah,
I do that with him sometimes.
He was a good dog.
So, well, he still is. He just lives in Texas.
Well, they should ship him out
Probably
here.
he came to visit you. That may be why you heard him
That's what I
bark.
thought. But yeah, it was. There's only one dog up on this floor, and it's this little one of them little whiny yappers, you know. And then you hear boom. I was
A
like,
yap dog.
yeah, and I thought, holy cripes, something like Elliot.
There's a reason
So
for
that's pretty good. That was kind of neat. I don't know, maybe a dog was visiting or something, but it was pretty cool anyway.
that. Yes, when he says Kenna, Bonnie, you're exactly right. So, and I am not going to the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash, so I'm going to miss seeing Kenna. So, because when I see him,
How
usually
can you
it's
miss
there
seeing Kenna?
because I love Kenna and he
Oh, I
loves
like
me
him
right
too.
back. So,
No,
Jack
I
Kenna,
always,
just so y'all know, if anybody doesn't know, we're talking about Jack Kenna, who is on all kinds of haunted shows everywhere. He is one of the best writers as well. He is a great researcher and he's just a nice man. So,
well, you know what I do? Do you remember Seinfeld Newman? Every time
same
Jerry
voice.
saw him, that's what I do with Kenna. Whenever he comes up, I go, Kenna. So
And it doesn't bother him at all.
no, well, it's a thing of affection. I got a little nickname for him, and it's his own name. So
Well, yeah, that was a good time when we were at that distillery in Tennessee.
yeah,
That was we were both walking medical emergencies, but it was really good to see people. That
well,
was when I had
we were like
just started
attached to
walking
each other
again.
going down that hill because
Yes.
your one leg and my one leg were both bad, and when we stood on the right, we had legs on the outside, and we could go.
Yes. And you were recovering from your cardiac things, and that was scary. And look at you now.
I see me all the time.
I'm really, really glad that you're so good.
Yeah, me too. I mean, not to make a big deal about it, but when you're driving to Gelson's, or not Gelson's, I'm going to Walmart, and I got real dizzy. This is kind of cool. I was getting to where I was getting hard to breathe. You know,
Yeah.
like I got winded real easy, and I walked up the stairs, and I live on the first floor, on the second floor. It's not no big deal. And I came in the front door, and I couldn't breathe at all, zero. And I had my hands on my knees, and I was going, doing everything I could to get air. And just without being melodramatic, I knew, a couple more minutes of this, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
So I just had my head down, and I said, God, please help me. And I was standing up. I didn't feel myself stand up, and his lungs were full, and I was like, wow, thanks. Right?
Sometimes you just have to ask.
Yeah, so but it was so instantaneous. It was like amazing.
Well, I
So
remember how shocked you were, and not shocked, but how in awe you were of the fact that A, it happened at all, B, it was such an immediate response to a prayer.
that's what I'm saying. Just like that, instant. I was like,
Mhm.
wow, thank you.
Well, and something that I found interesting when we were talking about it, um, and you were just so overwhelmed because it was so fast, it was so immediate, and
Yeah.
you were so surprised.
Well, you know what it was? When that happened, that's what made me go to the doctor to get the blood tests. Yeah, somebody else yelled at me to go do that too. I'm not going to say who it was, but it was you. Uh,
Somebody's got to keep you on the straight and narrow, or at
yeah,
least
so
making sure you don't die.
yeah, but when you're driving along after you get a phone call from your doctor, Rick, what are you doing? Driving to Walmart. Well, take a right and go to St. Joseph's Hospital right now. What?
Yeah.
And he goes, "You got something wrong with your red blood cells. Go, right, don't mess around." He says, "I know how you are. You're stubborn. Go right now." I said, "All right, I'll go. I'll go." And they shot me down the hallway like a missile. I mean, I was in there before I even knew I got in the room. So, but I'm all better now, as they say on Seinfeld. I think I'm all better now.
Well, that's what I was talking about. The people probably thought I was crazy, but that was the night. Yeah, because we're on the phone because you're freaking out. I'm freaking out. I'm wanting to make sure you get there. You get there. And I'm like, they just said that this fire is coming into Burbank. You need to get there. I mean, go, go, go. And so, then when you got there and you were going in, I'm like, okay, just let me know something. And, right after that, I don't know if you had put it on Facebook or what, but Cash called me and I'm like, well, and I didn't, I just said, well, this is what I know. And he was like, oh, okay, that's what we know too. So, because everybody was so concerned because A, the environment all around you was burning, and B, you couldn't, you know, when you told me why the doctor wanted you there so fast, I was just like, Holy Mother of God. I mean, you know. And so,
Well,
that was a scary time for you and for the people that cared about you.
yeah. Well, it was someone was watching out for me,
They
and
were.
they always have. I have to
They
say
do.
that. Um, Most of the people that don't know is that my ceiling in my bedroom, right where I'm sitting now, the ceiling caved in, and I
Yeah.
was standing right underneath it. I just turned to walk out, and all of a sudden, I was taping it, and you can actually see me stumble forward, and then you hear boom, it fall down. So I'm absolutely convinced somebody pushed me.
Sure did look like it.
Yeah. I told you I was thinking about making my third book. The title of it, My Guardian Angel Just Called for Backup.
Your guardian angel drinks. I'm sorry. Heavily, often. So I can't say much because I'm sure mine does too. But,
I think it's actually Farrah Fawcett is my guardian angel.
in your dreams.
Yes, very true.
But I've got to tell you that, you know, it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility. We don't know who they are.
But you know what gets me too is people saying, "Well, when I go to heaven and become an angel," you go, "No, you don't."
Mm-mm. They're already angels.
Yeah, they're a different group. So I'll
Because
hang
I
out.
don't think angels were ever human.
No, they weren't.
Angels are angels.
Yeah, and we do
So,
not become angels when we die.
mm-mm.
But I'm going to hang around with them anyway.
Well, I would really be disappointed if I didn't get something to fly around with.
Yeah. So
So,
you know what I'm waiting for?
battle.
Battle. It's coming. I have no doubt about it.
I think it's not far off.
Well,
They're really, are
what we were
really,
talking about earlier about the grizzly bears and the mountain lions leaving Yellowstone.
yeah. And you had just told me the day before about the mountain lions.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about the
And
grizzlies.
so,
So you told me.
yeah, because then I was reading my news feed and they were talking about the grizzlies fleeing Yellowstone. And I'm like, it just told me that the mountain lions were. And then farther into the article, it was talking about the mountain lions and some other species had left ahead of the grizzly bears. And it's like, there's no big secret here. There's a reason that animals that live in nature respond like, hey, Raymond, the animals that live in and with nature are responding to this. And it's just, yeah, the general consensus seems to be that there's going to be an eruption there, that's going to go.
Well,
And
if it has one of the big eruptions, there's not going to be any West Coast. That's how big of the volcano that up in Yellowstone is.
yeah.
And if that goes off,
Well, people don't know. I mean, there's not a record of an eruption from that, other than what they see in the the ground and stuff.
well,
But
they've said it's like 1,000 years overdue.
uh
So, and the fact that everywhere in the world seems to be flooding right now,
yeah.
it's just kind of weird.
Well, there's we're both old, but over time there've always been predictions of catastrophes, and there've been catastrophes, but we just don't ever know for sure when something's going to happen. I mean, that's why there have been predictions, oh God, all my life. Probably about every decade or so, there's going to be a world ending event. And so far, it's not happened.
No, but I got to say, when the grizzly bears and the mountain lions, the two fiercest creatures in Yellowstone, are taking a hike, they're feeling something that everybody else ain't.
Well, I agree with that, but I was just referring to like Mount St. Helens. That nobody paid attention to that. In fact, there were uh, volcanologists on the mountain
I know.
when it went, and to see that whole west side slide was just astounding. Raymond said that a moose was spotted in New Mexico just recently.
Well, that could have been Mikey Thompson.
Yeah.
He's kind of a moose.
Speaking of which, does anybody want to see a video?
Yes.
Yes. Carl just left. Let me go find it. Bum, ba-da-bum, bum, bum, ba-da-bum, bum, bum, ba-da-bum, bum, bum, ba-da-bum. Where is it?
I was looking up to see where the planes and stuff were coming in off that.
Let's see. Okay, now this is going to be, Carl, I had this up there, but I can't make it bigger. I don't know how to make it bigger. Do you want to run it? Okay. I will pull it up. It's short, but these are some of the places that we got on our trip last year. And our friend Mikey Thompson, who is the best videographer and drone man on the planet, in my opinion, put this together for us. And we'll see what happens.
You know
But
who
it
else
is
is
going to be an area.
You know who else is really good with the whatever that flying thing is up in the air? Jay Blumke.
Well, that's because Jay Blumke is freaking amazing and does video for his life. And he is one of the most brilliant people, period. And he will always be my hero. I gave him a night, him and his bride. So here we go. It's a short video. And that is our Scottish trip last year. So,
You know what's so cool about that?
Yeah.
Is when they're showing the castles, if you look behind it, all the open land that's around there. And that's pretty much how Scotland is. There's so many wide open areas where you go. It's like, wow.
And it's right to Rome. I mean, you can actively go anywhere. However, it's on you if you get hurt or dead or whatever. That's you.
Well, I don't want to prosecute me if I get dead. That seems a little hard.
Well, they might just be ready to, put you to it. But I'm trying to see. And here is a picture. Well, our faces are in the way.
Look at that McCullum guy so you can see Mikey.
Let me see what I got to do here. And it said that I was muted. Okay. So, can you hear me, Carl? Okay. So, here to the left is Lynn, and in the top hat is Gary. And they are the people that do the history and horror tours. I said that backwards, didn't I, Rick? So, and then that's Lori Dorsey, the redhead. And then that is Julie. And then Mikey is the dude with the camera. And then me behind Gary, obviously. But this was when we were in Paris. And we had just been on a tour. Gary had just started doing haunted tours of Paris. And it was brilliant. We had such a good time. These people took us everywhere. When we went to St. Andrews, they came and Lynn and her children would come and we would hang out. In fact, when we were doing our tours with them, we went to a little town. It was the middle of the night. Mikey's the only one that stayed up to do an investigation. And it was really so much fun. I don't know what to do to make that go away. Well, that was not it. So, and now I'm great big. I don't know what I did, but one of the things that I thought was just absolutely brilliant, we went to this place and it was called the Bankfoot Inn. And she was just talking about it the other night with some other people wanting to go. And I was like, oh, was this that place? And she said, yes, that was. And I was like, it was so haunted because Mikey stayed up and did an investigation while we crashed because it was one of those times that you didn't even know what town you were in. There was just a bed. We'd been wide open. And he got all kinds of stuff. And so when I got up the next morning, I really felt led out to the back garden. And then I wandered around the little village and stuff. There's so much there.
I actually ghost hunted. If, as you notice in that picture, I'm not in it.
Yeah.
That was because I was laying in bed back at the hotel. But
that was when he was like not able to get up, guys. He was so sick.
But what I did do is I got up and I went and I ghost hunted the place while you guys were all gone. And I didn't get a thing. I think my vibes were so off. They were just like, ah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that what had been happening later wasn't already happening there. Plus, you had COVID.
I did have COVID. I was having the effects of the pernicious anemia. I couldn't find any peppermints to help with the diabetes too. You know what? I'm a walking mess.
You are a walking mess, but I'm just damn glad you're still walking.
Well, I'm harder to kill than you think.
Obviously. So, and thank God for it, man. Thank God for it. So
I have a friend, Richard Friedman, who's a director. And I've done a bunch of movies with him. Actually, I co-wrote a movie with him. And It's, it's great to have friends like this. We'll be going as the movie's getting ready to be shot. They'll have a walkthrough and they'll go to each location and they'll write down anything. And anytime we go in somewhere, like we went into this one factory, and it's like 50-foot ceiling with with the long bars across the bottom. He looks up and he goes, "Can you fall off of that?" And I went, "Yeah." And he goes like this. He goes, turns to the script girl. He goes, "Write that down."
So, but I'd rather not.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind doing that. It's kind of fun. I mean, he had me kicked out of a helicopter once onto a 5 foot by 4 foot, or no, 6 foot by 4 foot pad.
And you did it.
I did it. Yeah. Yeah. Done a lot of stupid stuff. Surprised.
I wasn't going to say it.
I'm surprised.
I was actually pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm not used to that. What's going on here? What?
It's a momentary lapse of
Did you give me
reason.
the back of your hand?
I got nothing. So, one of the things that you have this way of, you just fall into friendships, and you just have so many people who care so much about you. And I think that's really, whatever. It's true.
Where are they?
Well, there's some in chat, and you're talking to one. So
That's
there.
true.
But, one of the things that I think really is very cool is that you affect a lot of people with your goodness, and you don't always recognize that.
Boy, don't let that get out.
Well, you always say stuff about it. It's your superpower is that people are nice to you.
It's true. Absolutely true. I mean,
But they're
read
nice
the
to you
book.
because your other superpower is that you're nice too.
Well, there's nobody around for me to be mean to, so just.
I guess
I'm
that's
really-
why Lori gets all that front of it.
I'm really spoiling for someone to go.
Arr.
No,
But it
it's
is a superpower.
no. I just I like people. That's just the way I am.
Mhm.
You know, it's funny. My mother came to visit me. This is years ago, and we went down to Gelson's Market, and we're walking through there, and everybody's stopping and coming. "Hey, Rick, how you doing? Hey, hi. The people who work there." We go back and we go to the deli, and we come back out, and we're going out, and other people are talking to me, and we got outside. My mother goes, "Do you know everybody?" And I went, "Yeah, pretty much." Right? There's a couple actors in there, that you would know, but I don't want to spread their names around.
Right.
But my mother says, "Oh, that's so." I said, "Come on, let me introduce you to them." I walked over, they talked, they were real nice to her. Off we went. And I said, "How do you do that?" I said, "You talk to them."
Yeah. If you're interested, people love to visit sometimes.
Well, there's so many people out there that nobody's talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Or like say at Gelson's, there's people who say, "Oh, they're just workers." Bah, that ain't gonna work.
Nope.
So
Well, and the flip side of that is that you live alone,
I do.
and you're a person. You're a people person, and until you're not, and you enjoy communication, you enjoy interaction, and I think that's one reason that you get so much spirit activity too.
Well, I
Because
think that's
spirits
true.
respond to that. Humans respond to that, living or dead.
Well, I really do think that's true, because the way I
Yeah.
look at things is that everybody has a vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and those vibrations I believe, have colors. And spirits will look and they'll go, oh, that's someone we can talk to. You know, I was on one of the shows and somebody said, how would you approach a ghost? And I said, pretty simple. Imagine that you found a puppy in your backyard. What would you do? And they said, well, I'd call it. I said, show me. And they go, oh, come here, puppy. Here. And then I said, that's how you attract ghosts. You know, go in there and start calling them names and all kinds of stuff. Make friends with them.
Yeah. I mean,
and don't sit on their tomb, by the way. They don't like that.
They will harshly light 5 lights at you.
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for a lightning strike or something to take me out.
Maybe if you hadn't gotten up, right?
But, yeah, the whole thing was less than a minute, maybe a minute. But I mean, it was so strong. I was like, I can't sit here. Even if I can't walk, I'll crawl away. You know.
Well, sometimes you would need to.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't want to stay where you're not invited.
Well, I'd never leave the house.
But yeah, like in that instance, that was an immediate need. You were going to crash, and you needed to do that, and it worked.
Yeah.
For a minute. So
yeah, it's interesting. The whole life is interesting. I think too many people don't look inside enough to figure things out.
Yeah.
I'm a very curious person. You know that. I mean, I'm always.
You're nosy.
Oh, I am nosy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's pot kettle black. I don't mind admitting it too.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind when people point out things that I already know about myself. You know?
Well, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't know you did.
Yeah, but you know, Elliot liked me. That's all that counts.
Hey, if animals like you, you're doing kids and animals. You're doing all right.
Kids and animals really like me. I mean, anybody that gets into their, you know, late 30s or 40s that, you know, are women.
Well,
I'll settle for.
I'm not even going to touch that topic.
I'll settle for a nice dog. It's funny though. My friends used to tease me because we used to go to Outback all the time, and if there were any babies there, they would always look over the top of the thing, and right. And then when they would go by in the stroller, they would look up. I actually had parents stop, you know, when they were holding their hands, because the baby would turn and go up to my table and look at me. I'm like, what do you want? Come on, you want some of this? Come on.
I mean, that really is funny because you don't have any.
No, I
so,
don't.
But
I will tell you something funny about. There was Adam Sandler was the row over from me, you know, and he was there with a kid that was maybe 2, maybe a year and a half, and his wife, and the baby starts crying, right? And Adam picks the baby up and takes him outside, right? Which I thought was a very cool thing of him to do. And comes back in a little later, he sits down, he starts eating, and a couple of minutes later, the baby starts crying. The mom picks him up, takes him outside, right? And they come back in and they finish dinner. And as they started walking by, I said, "Excuse me." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Mind if I ask you a question?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Have you two ever had dinner together?" Right? And he just looks at me and goes, and he's holding the baby. He looks at it, he goes, "Yeah, about a year and a half ago." That was so cool.
That is so cool. You know, that's people get wiggy about kids crying or whatever. And there are times and situations that it's really a bad thing. But when a parent is responsible and caring enough like that, and they've got that system work, it just makes it so much better for all of them.
Yeah,
you know, forget the people around them. It makes it much better for us too. But it makes such a much better environment for the family members because you know,
Well, I thought it
I'm
was
going
real.
to,
I thought it was a real classy move by both of them.
it is. Yeah.
So
It's
that,
astounding,
that
really.
was funny because he just stopped like that about a year and a half ago. That was a good one. Way to
Do
go,
you know?
Adam.
Well, definitely way to go, Adam. I was going to say that when people, I think, because I've been called names when I'm ghost hunting, and I would be offended, but I also try not to really stay in an environment where I piss something off, to put it bluntly.
That's why I stay
But,
inside all the time.
huh?
That's why I'm always in the house.
Well,
Trying not to offend anybody.
nah. Well, sometimes people need offending, but that's a whole nother story. But I never understand why people are so provocative when they're in a haunted environment, because you don't know who you're pissing off. You don't know what capabilities are there. And you don't know if it's somebody that's presenting as a schmuck because they're scared and they're trying to ring you off. I mean,
Could be.
there's so many different things. We don't have very much time left, but what would you say? You don't really provoke at all,
No.
ever. I've never seen you provoke. But I have seen you say, I don't remember what had happened. Was it when we were in Lexington that that probably wasn't you, although you were who I was investigating. Anyway, something along the lines of, if you're going to be, if you want to be a ass, there's men here or something like that. But I think a lady was being challenged. But that's
Well,
the
you
only
know
time
I
I've
wasn't there because of battle. You start
well,
messing with.
yes, but you were. But I mean, it wasn't like it was hideous, but it was just kind of like you don't do that
Yeah,
kind of a thing. And I think that was you.
could have been. I'm sure I would have said something.
Yeah, because I know it wasn't Kane. Kane was busy berating me for, I'm not kidding. I thought that Kane was so amazing when y'all announced it, because that was when I had just gotten Fate. Do you remember that? And you made the announcement that I was the host of Fate Magazine Radio.
I did indeed.
And I'm like, we haven't even announced that yet. And Kane looked at me and said, we just did.
Yeah,
And I was like, yes, sir. I like you and I like your friends. Y'all are nice people.
well, in the immortal words of my buddy Chuck Waters, who invited me to golf with his friends one day, and I called him up after we were done playing. I said, "Those are some really nice guys." And he goes, "Wouldn't be there if they weren't."
Yeah.
I was on another radio show when you said about provoking,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody said that I told him the story. I said there was a guy that I was with, wasn't anybody I knew, and he started provoking, and I said, "Come here." I said, "First off, don't do that, right?" And he goes, "Why not?" I said, "Let me ask you a question. If somebody came to your house and started calling you all kinds of names, threatening you and everything else, would you want to have any activity with them?" He goes, "No." And I said, "Neither do they.
Yeah.
So treat them nice."
At least don't be an ass. I agree with you. Treat them the way you would want to be treated, because as far as we know, these are humans that we're interacting with.
Yeah. Well, besides that,
And
you're dealing with somebody you can't see. You can't hear unless they want you to. You can't see them unless they want you to. Why are you
but
trying
they
to?
can manipulate but they can manipulate stuff.
Oh yeah. But why would you want to do that to somebody that won't talk to you if you're acting like a jerk, won't do anything if you're acting like a jerk? It's so stupid. It's just knock it off.
Yeah. I I don't understand it either. I just think it's nuts. And I have I have gotten irritated because the spirit was being difficult, as it were. And I've been less than ladylike. Like I don't sound quite so southern. Or maybe I sound more southern when I get mad. I don't know. Probably more southern.
You
But
sound like that one lady we look at.
guys, I have discovered Instagram. Okay. And so I see all these things, and there's a lady that talks more Southern than me. I know, right? Who would have ever thought? But she does. And so I send her reels to Rick because Rick lived in the South for a while. And so he was like, he started sending them back, started sending me hers too. But she is Southern as grits. I am not kidding. And it's not kids, it's kids and
Kids,
stuff
yeah.
like that. And so now he's hooked on her too. But
But she's funny.
she is funny. She is very funny. And, you know, and it's exactly my life at some points in time. My kids are grown now, but now I have grandsons that I haul around and go do stuff and get in trouble with. So the granddaughter's not quite old enough for that yet.
Oh, she'll make an appearance. Trust me.
Well, she
And
is
Grandma's
almost
gonna go ooh,
hey, Ba.
and all the
I am
dogs will
Eva.
surround you like, why are you holding that little person instead of us?
Well, I do not get her around dogs because she likes the idea of dogs, but she does not like dogs. So she calls them floofies or flus, something like that. But
Some sort of thing.
she is 3 and she is wide open with the choke out. And there's you a southernism, Mr. McCollum.
Thank you. The ones that I'm so used to are in that nice. Aren't you special? And there's 3 of them, and all of them are the way Southern girls tell you to take a hike.
What's the third one?
I can't remember right now what it is. Lucky I got
Oh,
2 out of
bless
3.
your heart. I would have thought you'd remember that.
Oh, geez, that's it. That's the third one. Bless your heart. Yeah, I've
Bless
had
your
all 3 of them in the
That can
same day.
be, but bless your heart can be nice too. It's all
Not when
about
you're talking to a pretty girl. Well, bless your heart. Gotta go.
bless your heart. You are not getting my phone number. I might give you somebody else's. So,
Hello,
that's one
American
of the
Airlines. Oh, I'm gonna call that pretty girl. Hello, American Airlines. Ah!
things. Well, I have just my power thing is not working. I don't know
Well,
why.
well, you just hit 7 o'clock.
Oh
Does it
well,
does it turn off
but
instantly?
I hope not.
Well,
But
I can wait.
we got a little slow start. We still got 6 minutes to go. But I cannot, for the life of me, see where anything is.
By the way, you need to blow that picture up of Balgoni with that little thing next to the flag.
Let me
No,
go find it.
I mean, it could be a bird, but it looks circular. And that's something a lot of people here don't realize, that
There you
supposedly
go.
Scotland is very big for UFOs.
Scotland is big for UFOs. There is so much activity there that that's one of the things that we did was go to Bonnie Bridge when we were there before. But if you look up at the flag, there is a little dot to the right of the flag.
That could be
So
a bird, but I don't see any wings.
I don't see wings either. But one of the things that I thought was so cool, I was going to try to make that be the thing with us over it. I don't know how to do that. That's okay. But I thought that was so cool because when we were at Bonnie Bridge that very first morning we were in Scotland, I found it so interesting that we had somebody with us that was ostensibly calling them to us. And that was something that I didn't think was a thing. And then we had somebody else that was getting pictures with lightning happening in it. I thought that was weird. And now I know how you do that with your phone. But it was just such an interesting thing. And I did not know that Scotland was such a UFO hotspot. And
Yeah,
it
a
is.
lot of them say it's the number one space.
Yeah. Well, yeah, one of the things we did last year was go to the Scottish UFO and Paranormal Conference.
Yeah, we
And
went and listened to Linda Whiteford.
mhm, and Malcolm Robinson.
Yeah,
So, and Alice and other people that were there too. It was really interesting. It's very small. There were only like 4 or 5 speakers, but it was just a day and it was at Glasgow University, so that was neat. But we had a good time.
by the
So
way,
what?
do you remember the picture I showed you from St. Andrews, where you can see the round object? And I
Yes.
and I had used it in burst mode, and it's not in the one in front of it or the one after it. So in
Yep.
other words, it was only there that long.
Yep.
So,
And that's one of the things that I love, that you're so open to all these different things. And when they show up, I mean, you just have to roll with them.
yeah, I'm pretty
So
sure there's people out there in the universe that are smarter than me. I mean, there's people smarter than me right here in this universe. So,
not as many as one would think. You're a pretty smart cookie.
well, hopefully, when I get the rest of my red blood cells back, my memory will
Yeah.
start getting back.
Well,
You
mine
know,
is getting back. I
but that,
I had I said mine is coming back. I had for those that might have thought I was crazy for a while, I had sudden onset post menopausal ADHD. So now we're having to deal with that. And the more I research it, the more interesting it is. So if I've been flaky, I'm going to blame it on that from now on. I have an excuse. So, but the memory thing is kind of interesting. But we're going to have to talk about that next time because we are right at out of time.
no,
I had so much. I know, right? What the hey?
I want more time.
I do too. But it's so much fun because you are so knowledgeable about the paranormal and you've done so many types of investigations and you've had so many types of experiences. I know we're best friends, but sometimes I forget just what a fascinating paranormal person you are, and might even say an iconic guy.
Excuse me while I puff up.
But you are, and I'm glad that we get to have paranormal adventures together, and I'm looking forward to the next ones. We're going to have a blast.
Well, let's put it this way. If I didn't think that you were at least as good as me, you and that big redhead with that stupid suitcase would never be out hanging out with us.
Yeah.
So y'all got your own talents. Although Lori, one day at Earth Castle, could not pick me up on her SLS
Yep.
camera.
Yep. Couldn't map you.
And then the girl that I went to help her out, she walked out to get me and then walked back in. And or she walked out to get me. When we walked out, she walked me out to the car. I'm not on the Ring doorbell, but she is.
Yeah.
I should be a burglar if nobody can spot me. This is, I think, a new career path here.
I would be getting calls to come bail you out.
Well, you know,
So,
it's funny. I'm like what Ron White said. Now I'm between 6'1" and 6'6", depending on which convenience store I'm coming out of.
which 7-Eleven you're at. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
Well, we are done. I appreciate you so much. For
Bummer.
everyone listening, thank you so much for being here, because you know what? I love my friend, and I love that y'all do too. So thank you for joining us. We will be back and be same cat time, same cat channel, but Sunday is Fate Magazine Radio. So we will see you there. Be blessed and take care. Thank you for that.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.